All right, ladies and gentlemen in the chat, welcome back to the stream here. We have the first occasion of a product manager giving us an interview. It is none other than PM Spocktapus, otherwise known as Chris, if he wants to say hello.
Hey guys, how are we all?
Excellent. So Miss Sky and I are going to be doing this interview. We're going to be talking about AVA and the competitive scene in AVA. At the end, we'll be doing questions from the chat, so make sure you get those questions brewing and ready. But basically, Chris, to start this off, do you want to give us some backstory or background on you and introduce yourself to the stream?
Yeah, sure, not a problem. So I've been working in games for about 4 years now. I landed in Berlin purely by accident, which is pretty much how most of my life works out. I started in community management, so dealing with you guys on the front lines, talking to people back and forth, running events. After a few months, I moved up and moved up again, eventually ended up in product management. Over the last 4 years, I've worked on about 7 different titles. Some good, some not so much. Mixed success with all of them. I think the last big title I worked on was a game called Tactical Intervention. I don't know if anyone knows it, but it went pretty well.
Yeah, for sure. And definitely people can tell that you worked in community management because of all the forum threads you make and just how direct your contact is with the community. We've never really had that before with any of the previous PMs. So I think a lot of people like
Well,
that
it's
from you.
always been important for me to connect with people directly. It just makes more sense than standing back from a game and running it by distance.
Yeah, for sure. So let's get right into the meat of the questions here. I'm going to be asking you about the esports stuff and ESL. So I think one of the issues people have been having with some of our popular cups, the one-on-one and two-on-two cups, like there's some issues with the maps because the maps are really designed for like 8 versus 8. We're trying to use them for one-on-one. Do you ever see in the future that there could be maps designed to cater towards the format that we use on ESL, or is that just not part of the picture?
I'd love that to be the case, but I really doubt it will happen. The problem here is that we're a very small part of the global AVA community, and the developers' design decisions are made with the big picture in mind. And they're much more interested in supporting their format, which is the 5v5 they use for the AIC and the AWC. While it would be great to get one-on-one and two-on-two maps at some point, unfortunately, I don't see it happening. Not anytime soon, anyway. Sorry, guys.
All right, well, that's nothing to be ashamed of. But speaking of AIC and AWC in the main format, I mean, you look at UAVA and we only have ESL and we do have the international qualifiers, but they're all online. And then you go over and you look at Asia and they have all these crazy lands and stuff like that. So that's like kind of the perspective from spectators and players. But as a project manager for AVA, like, what is your perspective on the competitive scenes for UAV and for the Asian scene when comparing them?
So the main difference is the size of the community as a whole, I would say. Asia has a much larger competitive scene in general for AVA and a much larger player base. If we could match that, I could tell you my life would be much easier to begin with, but we would also be able to match the competitive scene on their level. They also invest a lot more heavily into their competitive scene than we're able to because they have this large community base and hence a larger income within the game.
Yeah, that's definitely for sure. I mean, they're just it's like a culture thing as well. Like it's Korea, Japan, Taiwan, China. It's just absolutely crazy how they take esports.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, this isn't a thing just within AVA. This is across esports for all titles. Asians are just much more into their games.
Yeah, but if you could have your way with AVA, like where would you like to see UAV go competitively? Like more like international qualifiers or more like land qualifiers for Europe or NA?
I would like to see us get to the point where we could actually host tournaments here, where instead of sending an NA team, we actually had teams from individual countries all coming here to Berlin to compete against each other. I would really love to hit that point. We're working hard on it, but at the moment that's a long way off. But hopefully in the next year or two, we can start doing things like that.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to that. But another thing about Asia is that they also use a larger portion of the guns, basically like red tickets and the SH-14 armor and characters. ESL doesn't actually use these because the barrier of entry to use them is actually like pretty high for new teams or new players. Like sometimes they have to get 4, 5, 6 guns, which can be quite a bit of investment. Um, like a lot of players would like the red tickets gun to be used, but they can't really use them on ESL. Is there any way like to reduce this barrier on ESL, or any plans for that? Thoughts?
I'm actually working on this right now. The current plan is to get the devs to send me 3-day versions of every weapon that can be used in tournaments. And once that's done, everyone that enters an ESL tournament on a weekend will be issued a package that will have every tournament item lasting for 3 days. So they'll be able to use those items over the weekend, which means everybody will have the weapons that are normally out of reach. So there'll be no more issues in that respect.
That'll be excellent. That'll definitely help our teams that go compete internationally. They'll actually get some practice with these guns, where now they just get absolutely destroyed by like Heat or HQ or stuff.
It's going to drive my GMs crazy because I'll have to hand it all out. But yeah, it should be nice for you guys.
Well, they're just GMs there. They're there to serve us, aren't they?
No comment.
All right. So, actually, for us right now, AWC, the 8-point cups, they're actually coming to an end. We only have, after this one, we only have one more. It's been a crazy ride from your perspective as a PM, because I think you came halfway through this starting, or were you here for the whole thing? Um,
I've been here since the start of the 8
all
Point
right.
Cup, but I'm relatively new to AVA as a whole.
So, what was it like starting it off, like the first three events? Like, what did you think about the teams competing and setting it all up from your perspective?
Actually, it was a little chaotic from us to begin with. We hadn't done, well, I personally hadn't done anything like this before. Okami, who managed the previous one, was working on a different project, and Larik didn't have a huge idea either. So it was tough to get it started, but things have come together over time. We've learned a lot, and we plan to make it even more streamlined next year for you and for us.
All right.
Uh, yeah, it's been fun though. It's been quite a blast. I'm hoping to see more teams next year, so we get less domination by the established teams. I'm very happy to see Global doing so well. I think that's absolutely amazing. But yeah, next time if we could get a lot more competitors, that would make it so much cooler.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a really cool format. It's like the first time a publisher has invested that much time into a league of that type of sort over so long as well. It's not just like a qualifier gets announced 2 weeks before. It's like you have the 6, 7 months to prepare and play in these games. It's really cool. But I think that's about it for the esport questions. If Jeremy wants to pick off with the gameplay ones.
Yeah, we actually have a couple of gameplay questions. Some also interfere with some sort of ESL questions. To start off with, the match channel. The match channel pool has to be of much discussion by a lot of players because there are maps in it, such as Factory and Supply, which are not played competitively, are quite hated. So, what do you plan to do with the match pool? Is it going to be changed anytime soon? And if so, might it be an idea to change it towards the ESL pool, maybe with some additions to it for, let's say, Radar and Aslan?
So I spoke to Red Duck about this just last week. They were visiting us here in Berlin, and the plan is to remove everything in the match pool that isn't actually used in tournaments. Uh, Lately, the decision was made to introduce Aslan into the match pool. So there will be 8 maps. We're still debating whether Cannon will be removed for Aslan. At the moment, it will be the 7 existing tournament maps and Aslan. I'm not sure when that change will be made. Red Duck have to check out how difficult it is, but if we're lucky, next week. If not, next update.
Next week. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, that really depends on whether it can be done with a query or whether we need a maintenance for it. If it takes a maintenance, it'll be next update. If it's simply an SQL query, then we will have it done next week.
Makes sense. All right. To continue with the match channel, let's go on with the Clan Championship season, also known as the CCS. The season is quite important to clans that compete there. But what's also important to them is the clan section on the ESL webpage of Area. What do you plan to doing it with that? Because it was quite huge back in the days. It was good to see, but it seems to be kind of forgotten.
So we've had problems with the clan system both in and out of the game. When it comes to our webpage, unfortunately, it doesn't seem likely that there's going to be any major updates on that anytime soon. We've been pushing our clan page with the engineering team for pretty much the entire time I've been working on the game. Unfortunately, their resources are devoted elsewhere in all sorts of projects, such as getting our own data center here in Germany and many, many, many other considerably more technical things. So while it would be awesome to have the webpage up and running, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. On the plus side, when it comes to the clan system, Red Duck tell me they should be able to figure out the clan bonuses system and get all of that running up again in Q1 next year. So just a few months for that.
That's always good to hear. Moving on to the following question. The AV team recently has been doing quite a good job in reducing down the cheaters. So the big question is, of course, what is going to be the next step on eliminating those violators, and what can the community maybe do to help on that?
The next big step is a brand new anti-hack system that Red Duck and the global publisher NeoWiz have been working on together. I can't provide any real updates on that. It's a system that's been in progress for a while. They've almost got it finished. They delivered a first build to us recently. It needs some tweaks before we can do anything with it solid. But we're pretty confident that we can deploy that fairly soon, and that should really help to clear up a lot of things. Like, a lot. This tool will be amazing once it's working.
The big question for it is going to be, though, is it going to be a separate tool, or is it going to be the replacement for Signcode?
It will be a separate tool. This will not be anything players will see. It will run in the background, and it has a tool that we can manipulate directly ourselves. So it'll be non-interference, but super powerful at the same time.
That sounds really good.
Yeah, fingers crossed that it works as intended. As to what the community can do, just keep reporting hackers as you find them. Let us know what the situation is. Whenever you notice an increase, the earlier we know, the earlier we can work on it. So, yeah, just stay in contact is all I can say.
All right. That will now give you the last question that at least we have put together before we're going to go on to the community questions. And that is, do you have any upcoming teasers to share about the game, which you wish to share with the community?
As I said, Red Duck were in town last week, so I have lots and lots and lots to share. But I want to sit down and compile it with our engineering team and a couple of the other guys that were in the meetings. Once that's done, I will be posting on the forums, pretty much like my standard letter format, but this will be all of the updates we're planning and when they'll be released. There's a lot coming very soon, so yeah, stand by for that. I'll let you guys know when it's out.
All right, thanks for that. I think we can go on with some community questions while we're on the go. Looks like everyone is quite stunned about the things you said about Canon, but it possibly being removed.
Yeah, so how that was decided was at every major tournament, a representative from every publisher for AVA sits on a board and we discuss major changes for upcoming tournaments. I was outvoted on that one, but I ran this news past some of the competitive players afterwards, and they were not overly depressed by having Canon removed and Arslan put in. So it is what it is, and I unfortunately cannot change that.
All right, then we'll move on to the first community question. Let me just get that in front of me. It was a question from Riestel, and it was regarding the battle points, since you stated in the last post on the forums, your letter number 4, that battle points were getting removed. So what are you going to do to counter against that?
We're still discussing what will happen with that, but there's a good chance that everything that required battle points will see a cost reduction in whatever currency is used for it. So capsules should drop and so on. I can't provide anything definitive at this time, but that's what seems most likely.
Okay. Well, I wrote one down earlier on just before we started the interview. That was a question from Drain. It was asking, since this game is starting to go the free-to-play direction, what's going to be coming next? Are there any pay-to-win things that will get converted to free-to-play?
I'd have to know exactly what you were referring to in that case. What pay-to-win mechanics in particular? As we move on, as you can see, I'm trying to move more and more towards a free game. How much further I can go with that really depends on how the game continues to perform once I've made these changes. If I can show that everything keeps working as well as it has in the past, or even better, then absolutely I can make more and more free, but for the time being, I have to do this incrementally, lest my bosses kill me.
Alright. Any question that caught your eye so far, Ink?
There was a couple of people that were asking if characters can go back into the capsule shop. I don't know if you have any input on that.
The content of the capsule shop is largely determined by the project manager at Red Duck. I'm allowed to have input on that, so I could definitely ask, but the final decision rests with them. So if enough people are interested, I can definitely put something together and present it to them. That's not a problem. Just, add it as a comment on my latest letter post, and yeah, I'll put it forward to the guys.
All right, and probably one of our last two questions here, but some people have been asking about the FPS drop situation. Some people still say it's going on, some people say it was fixed for them. What really happened with the last patch regarding it?
So the last update we had fixed the problem for about 60 to 80% of the people that were experiencing the issue, but it's definitely still happening. What we've noticed from talking to people is that it's generally to do with lower performing machines. So it's probably a resource usage issue in one of our latest updates. We're still trying to figure out exactly where that is and trying to remedy it. We'll be pushing out another hotfix probably on Tuesday, and if that doesn't work, another one later in the week.
All right, sounds good. Jeremy, any final questions you have for Chris here?
Let's see. We do have one question coming in about a better spectator system. I think that relates a bit more to the esports channel that we currently have. Can you share some light on that? Will that get improved? Will that get changed? Or is it going to stay the same as it is now?
There are some small improvements coming to the spectator mode. Red Duck and Ewiz are both interested in fixing some of the issues before the AWC, because obviously it works better for them to present a tournament that's working smoother. But I don't have all of the details on what's happening, and those that I do have will be part of the update that I mentioned. So stick to the forums for this week.
All right, well, I think that's about it. Is there any shoutouts or teasers you'd like to share finally with the community in the chat?
No teasers, like I said, you'll have to wait for those, but I'd just like to say thank you all. You're an awesome community, definitely the best one I have ever worked with. You guys kick ass, your feedback is always brilliant, and you've really helped me and the guys to make the game better every single week we work on it. Thank you, and continue to play, continue to help. You're great.
All right, well, I think that wraps it up for the interview. Thank you to Chris or PM Spocktapus for the interview. I'm pretty sure everyone has been enjoying the changes in the last year that have occurred with AVA. Everyone definitely appreciates them. And
It's been my pleasure. Absolutely my pleasure.
All right, so let's get back to the 8-Point Cup, Jeremy, and thank you for coming on, Chris.
Thanks, guys. It was great to be here. Oh, and for Hassan, Eon prices will be dropped. It's coming soon.
All right,
wow,
there you go.
That is a good teaser.
All right, guys, so we'll be back with the loser bracket semifinals between Andromeda and Global. Really big match, guys. Don't miss it. And we'll be back in 5 minutes.